Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scratch My Noodle. I'm your host, Jeff Macalino, and I am very, very excited today to welcome another host of a show, Melissa Johnson, the host of Dream Hub, which you can find. But watch this episode first, just to help me out. I don't. Does it help me out? I don't know. Melissa, how are you today?
I'm great, thanks.
Yes, and I'm talking to you. You're actually in the future for me.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
There's the flaw of linear time, right?
Mm.
I'm
Hmm.
I feel like that proves the flaw of linear time. Um, so Melissa, my audience should probably be watching your channel if they're intrigued, because I always flock back to a certain topic that I may have given away by saying the name of your show, Dream Hub. But tell my audience a little about you and what you do, and about your show also here.
Sure. So I'm a dream therapist and a dream teacher. So in that, I guide people through their dreams and what their dreams can mean. And I help them to use their dreams as a source of guidance on how to live their life. So I've been using my dreams for about maybe 5 or 6 years now, and deciphering them and then getting the message. And then the next day when I wake up, I need to take physical action in my daily life to honor the dream. And just seeing the way that my life and my mental health and my relationships and like everything about me, my confidence, creativity, everything has improved so much. So now I teach that to other people and help them figure it out for themselves. That also helps with overcoming nightmares, because that's a big challenge. And I teach people how to remember more dreams. And I suppose that's the thing that people don't realize. And what the show is a lot about is sort of using it as an active practice. It's like it's like a dreaming and working with your dreams is kind of like a lifestyle. It's something that you can do every night and every day. And I help people to be able to make that connection to their dream self, like through a self relationship, and be able to understand the messages and then use it to like fulfill their selves, like have a happy soul and have an amazing life.
So, how did you get started with I assume you I'm going to take a guess. I assume you suffered with vivid dreams before you kind of dove into it.
Good guess. So most of the dream therapists that I've met have all come from, educational background where they're like psychologists and then they just branch off into dreams as part of their studies and they haven't actually lived through it. And I suppose that's the difference with me is that I got into dreams because I had such extreme nightmares. And it was the first time I got pregnant. So through my life, I used to take a lot of medication. I would smoke weed. I would drink alcohol, take sleeping pills, whatever, and just knock out at the end of the night and not give a focus on my dreams at all. And then when I became pregnant, obviously I couldn't do that, and the nightmares were insane. Like I'd wake up like bawling my eyes out or have extreme anxiety the next day. And I suppose, anyone watching who's had a nightmare can understand how that feels. But I was getting that every day. And so it was like debilitating. So
Hmm.
I started researching it all and learned how to lucid dream. And that was like the no going back moment. I don't know. Have you ever had a lucid dream before?
So, lucid dream, I guess I should ask the definition from you, because someone said it's basically where you control the dream.
Yeah, so there's a few different layers to it. And basically, what it is it's that you wake up inside of a dream and you know that you're dreaming, whether you can take control or not. So sometimes you might wake up in the dream and be like, well, there's a giant octopus. Like, this is a dream. And you can sit back and watch it all and not control it, but still know that you're in a dream. And that's still lucid dreaming. It's just a different level of what you can do. So there's that level, and then there's the next step where you can control yourself and you can like say or do actions, but you can't control anything else going on in the dream. And then a higher level to that is where you're able to change the dream itself, like morph something into something else, like change the surroundings. And yeah, it's like a life shocking thing. Like if it's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like, I don't know if you could edit this out or if we have to or not, but like, you know, if someone says, have you ever had an orgasm? You know, if you have or you haven't. It's
Yeah.
like that with lucid dreaming. It's like, once you do, you know, and things are different from then on.
Yeah, well, I definitely have. The whole, this is where I get confused because I, you're probably used to hearing this. The listener, you'll just have to bear with it. But one of the things I suffered with a lot when I would go to bed sober, especially. I mean, there's something there, but that's a separate topic. But I would have a lot of those sleep paralyzing
Sleep
paralyzation,
paralysis.
sleep paralysis. Thank you. Words aren't working in my brain. Where you just see the figure looming over you and you can't move, you can't do anything, and I fly off the handle. And actually, when I talked to Will and Karen on my podcast a couple of years ago, they said, "Oh, that's actually the dimension into astral projection," which again is kind of a different thing from lucid dreaming. But since then, I usually have the presence of mind to just be like, "This is a dream," and then if I know it and stay calm,
Mm.
I always float out of my bed or sink into my bed, which also then, while it induces a little bit of panic, you also realize this is definitely a dream because I cannot float or sink through my bed. So logically, the other giveaway in dreams, by the way, and I've done this, is if I can dunk a basketball. And I'm 6'2". I probably should have been able to dunk a basketball at some point in my life, but I never was. But if basketball's involved, I'll just go to dunk. If I can dunk, I'm like, yep, I'm asleep.
Yeah. Isn't that satisfying when you wake up from a dream like that, though, and you get to do something that you usually wouldn't?
Yes, but I never get. So one thing someone told me again years ago about lucid dreaming was like, you can control it. So you could just be like, I want to, fly over this, or I want to have sex with this celebrity. And I'm like,
Mm.
all right, let me try it. Never works.
Okay, great. And then that's why I'm here. That's why I coach people, because it doesn't always work, and it's a lot to do with mind power. So like I think this is probably a really good tip for people that are listening. If you're in a lucid dream and you're trying to fly and you're not flying, it's because your mind may still be stuck in like our 3D reality where there's gravity and we have to physically do something. So you might be trying to use your body to get you to fly. But in a lucid dream, it's all mind power. So you need to look at where you want to go. Like, say you see the top of a mountain and that's where you want to fly to. Focus on the top of the mountain and then just will yourself there. Like, I know I'm going to get there, and focus on the end point, and then you'll just fly there. But if you're thinking about your body and being like jumping to fly, it's going to really be difficult.
Gotcha.
But I want to back up a little bit as well. You were just talking about sleep paralysis, and
Yes.
there is like, yes, you can use it to astral project. That's very advanced. There's a lot of people that day to day get sleep paralysis and don't understand what it is and what causes it. So, what it is scientifically is it's that you may have gone to sleep at a different time than you usually do, or you're forcing yourself up to wake up at a different time to usual. Like if your sleeping routine is out of whack and you're not going to bed at the same time, then your brain doesn't know when to wake up properly. So in the morning, what's happening is you're still stuck in a dream, which is why you're paralyzed and you can't move. Because when we dream, our bodies shut down so that we don't act out our dreams and hurt ourselves. So half of your brain is asleep and in a dream, and then your conscious mind and your eyes are awake. So you can like see around your room and you feel normal, like you're awake, but you can't move. And what happens is then you go, oh, I'm scared. Fear comes in. And the little dude that makes your dreams goes, fear. I'll go get an image for that. And it runs off and comes back with a demon to like, or something scary. and you often feel like it's sitting on your chest or you can't get up, and it's just your brain like in a flurry because it doesn't know if it's awake or asleep. So that's why staying calm, breathing, focusing on your breathing, or just trying to wiggle your toes, it'll help your brain to slowly adjust and to all switch back on, and then the dream will fade away. So
How common is it to, and I guess again, I'm talking to someone who deals with this professionally, so probably more common for people you talk to than the average Joe.
you'd be surprised at how common it is in the general population. Like a lot of people ask me about it. I think about 40 to 60% of the population suffer from it. But it's something that you can reduce yourself. Like I said, if you start going to bed at the same time every night, then that usually just gets rid of it. And yeah, people will usually find if it's like they've been drinking alcohol or on a bender, or it's the next day, or like you said, it only happens when you're sober. So it's something about your brain is doing something different to what it usually does. And it's like, can't handle it all at once.
No, what about the dream within a dream? I know you touched on that, and that's something that happens to me. I've had a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, like
Yeah.
Inception level stuff going.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it's a, and again, I don't know how common that is for people, because I said to my kids, like, this is the fourth time I've driven you to school today. And they're like, what? And I'm like,
Doesn't it get a bit scary at that point when you're like, oh, but is this real?
well, a lot of times the dreams are very boring, but
Yes.
they're they're lifelike enough to, like, so this kind of dives into nightmares at the same time. I remember having a dream. I used to live in a two-story house, and thank God I don't, because these dreams won't happen anymore. Well, they probably will. But I remember my son tumbling down the stairs, and I was standing, across and just saw him, and blood was going all over the place. And my daughter walked out and said, "What are you supposed to do?" And I just turned and walked to my bedroom and laid down, because I
Knew
wasn't
it
in
was
control. Well, I don't think I was in control. I think it was just and but maybe I did. And then I woke up and went about my day, and then the house started collapsing around me. And then I was like, oh God, I hope this is a dream too. And then boom, I wake up again. And and it happened. It was a rough mental health day, to be like,
Mm.
my days are relatively normal, except for something terrible happens every day.
Yeah.
And nothing terrible happened that day, by the way, in actual real life, unless I'm still in that dream.
Mm.
It's a
So what
long
I'd
time.
encourage you to do is, have you heard of doing a reality check? It's
Hmm.
like where you check if you're in a dream or not
Is
in
that like the
some
Inception
way.
thing?
Yeah, so I think he had like a spinning top or something. What you can do is you can like pull on your finger. So say first thing you wake up in the morning and you're like, is this a dream or is this another one of those tricky things? Pull on your finger. And if it like goes out like spaghetti, then you're in a dream. And then that's when you can go and do some cool lucid dreaming stuff. Same thing is you can try jumping. And if you get out of bed and just jump on the spot, if you're in a dream, there's usually no gravity and you'll just start floating up. But if you're awake, then you'll just land normally and be like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is my waking life. And then you can carry on. But what you would want to do in those situations, like if you are having one of those repetitive things, if it were my dream, I'd be thinking the dream is trying to tell me something really important that I'm ignoring because it just keeps starting again and then something's happening. So I'd go into dream interpretation with what was going on with what was happening in your dream, but I also love to give you a plan of action so that next time this does happen and you go, hang on, this is weird, instead of going back to bed in the dream and then waking back up again. And that could be why it kept going over, because you were going to sleep within the dream and then it will just continue. But what you could do is have a plan of action that you'd like to do once you realize you're in a dream. So You can say, "Hey, dream, show me something hilarious," and just see what happens. Or like, "Why are you showing me this?" Or like, you can ask questions. You could have asked questions to your like bloody child on the ground and asked him like, what's happening? Or, do something fun. Try the flying thing, like go and open the window and jump. Like once you've checked that you're actually in a dream, like make sure before you go jumping out the window. But do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, make sure you got the spaghetti fingers before you try the window thing.
Yeah.
At least out of the second story. First story, I think you're fine. Go.
So there's like levels to the lucid dreaming, which is why you were saying earlier you've heard about people doing cool things in their dreams, like they can fly and they go and have sex with whoever they want. And you're like, how come my lucid dreams are just horrible? It's because you haven't like implemented a plan of what you're going to do or fully realized, like, had that major awareness. So sometimes it can be something like what you said when the sun fell down the stairs, you realized it was a dream, so you just went back to bed. But when you that's like the very first step. You might have been like, this is a bit weird, and still felt hazy and just wandered off. If you're in a dream and you have that realization, the best thing to do is to try and ground yourself, because it brings the vividness of the dream like to the next level. It almost feels like it's popping you into a virtual reality video game. Like if you start to go, "Oh, I'm in a dream," and you just sit down on the floor and start like touching, smelling, like focusing what's around you, and like bring your awareness into the fact that you're in a dream, all of a sudden, like it's super ultimate real, and you don't straight away forget that you're dreaming. Like sometimes that can happen in a dream. You're like, "Oh, I'm in a dream." And then you kind of get carried away with the storyline and forget and keep going off and doing weird things. But if you can fully ground yourself in the dream, it's so cool. And then you'll remember like, "Oh, I wanted to ask a question, or I wanted to go and do whatever it is you wanted to do," because you've got your awareness. It's not going to go and float off with some other dream character somewhere without you realizing it.
So, see, now I like to keep it on a base level, but now I'm going to go deeper. Uh, because my own experience. So I've done the whole trick where you acknowledge it's a dream. Again, well, the dream world and astral projection. What is your take on that? Like the relationship?
It's a very spiritual area. And the thing is that a lot of people are astral projecting and not realizing that they are. Because again, it's sort of like lucid dreaming where there can be like a haze on it and you don't quite realize, and then it can get clearer and clearer the more awareness you have within the dream space as to what you're actually doing. So astral projection is taking you from, say, dreams is internal and you're in your own inner world, and everything going on within the dream is like parts of your own psyche. And when you go to astral project, that's when you're going up into other realms and you can, speak to deceased loved ones and get like super amazing messages from other realms. And you can also, another aspect of astral projecting is it's like an out of body experience sometimes for people when you're initially like, you like are falling asleep and you have these little vibrations and you can kind of feel it's like you're pulling out of your body. And then, some people might go and fly out the window or do something cool. So there's differences between the experience for some people. Some people it is like you're floating around your own street and you can see the postman come and how many letters he's delivered, and you can see which cars are on the street. And then you come back and you wake up in your body and you're like, what? And you go out and check and it's exactly the same. That's not
Wow.
a dream. That's like astral projection. But then there's also the astral projection where you're just like off, like in in the cosmos, like doing some deep work. So yeah.
Yeah. See,
I don't know if
so
that explains very well.
no, you did explain it well. I think one of my problems is, so I'm going to go through a handful of dreams with you, but this is kind of not that, just because I I would like to. I think this would be entertaining for listeners,
Mhm.
or for viewers. But anyways, the astral projection part, like I've had where I've done the out of body, and I've had it go up, I've had it go down, I've had it go sideways, um,
Mm.
and I've been like, through weird. It wasn't through. It felt like I was in another dimension, and I've even been like, "Why am I here? What's the purpose?" And the voice I get back is like, blah 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 blah. And
Can I ask, were you drinking before you had this
no, I would
experience?
no. These are all sober experiences. I'm a heavy drinker when I drink, and I do not drink when I have my kids at the house. I mean, I could have a few
So
if I
that's like
wanted.
me.
They're
I
old
like
enough.
to have a binge drink when I'm away from them.
Yeah. But I'm divorced, so I have it 50% of the time. I drink a lot. It helps me go to sleep. It helps normalize my sleep schedule, oddly. But I don't have dreams. And I guess if we want to dive into the deep end with me, one of the reasons I started drinking so heavily is because anytime I went to bed sober, I would almost every night have dreams about watching my kids die gruesome,
Mm,
violent deaths, usually getting
mhm.
hit by cars. Now, I worked as a car insurance claim person, and I dealt with a lot of gruesome injuries and deaths. I mean, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to connect those two things. However, it was always my kid, and my dreams are always so vivid when I'm sober that it is really hard to differentiate between real life and dreams.
Mm.
So I found years ago that having a few drinks just numbed them enough that they were sparkly. If you probably understand what I'm saying with that, like you could just see the this is not real around the edges. Um, and then when I don't have the kids drinking a ton, I still do sometimes have dreams, but they're very dulled and very obviously dreams where I actually feel like I can sometimes play with them. Uh, which I guess is kind of lucid dreaming, but you know, I don't have my faculties about me. So, um, I also think my subconscious, I don't know if I'm kind of turning here, even though, this all folds into itself. I've had dreams. Uh, I think my subconscious messes with me on purpose. I've had dreams where my kids are screaming, "Wake up, wake up." And I jump up out of bed and I go run across the house and I'm doing all these things like someone's in the house. There's no one in the house. There's no, it just ruined my night of sleep. So, and oftentimes I get into that deep, vivid sleep very quickly, like 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So I'm like, look at the clock. I'm like, I was sleeping for less than an hour. And now I'm wired. And I thought my subconscious was telling me there was an intruder in the house and I had to get up and run around.
Mm.
I've also had banging on the door. I've looked at my security cameras. There was no one at the door.
So can I ask you a question? Do you feel like all of these dreams are trying to get a message through to you about something, but maybe you just don't understand?
I think so. The original ones I was talking about with the violent deaths of my kids, I think that actually was a message to
Mhm.
get out of my line of work.
I was about to say that, ask you when you were talking, was it the car insurance place?
Yeah,
And when you said the kids were being like killed by a car, I was thinking,
almost
well,
always. Yeah,
how your work was impacting their lives. And the other symbology with that is like when sometimes when a child's dying in a dream, it's symbolic of them growing up because that version of who they are on that day, that's the smallest they'll ever be. And as a parent, it's really hard, as they grow because you have to say goodbye to that little toddler or that version of themselves. And then they're a kid all of a sudden and they're someone different, and that little toddler's gone. It's like they're almost dead in a way, that version of them. So as a parent, it can be normal to have dreams of our children dying if we feel like they're growing up really fast. And, being that you have them week on, week off, it may have been that you didn't see them for a week. The next time you saw them, they'd gotten bigger. Perhaps your work was impacting on how much time you were getting to spend with them or the way you were interacting with them. And so that could easily spill out a dream like the one that you had. I thought it was interesting as well that your dreams were saying, wake up. So just because the dream is like of a child saying to you to wake up, doesn't mean that that's the message is about them, or it could just be your subconscious is wanting you to wake up to something, to, wake up. And so it's giving it to you in a way that you're going to understand or you're going to listen. And that's through the voice of your child. So yeah, and knocking on the door, it's like, hello, like your dreams are trying to like let himself in and get your attention and start kind of communicating with you to help you. And that's the thing that you don't realize when you're having nightmares, is that they're a gift. They're there to help you. It's our subconscious mind. We scan millions of things every day. We know our emotions better than anybody else and our history and everything. And then it goes through and it compiles like everything that's going on and tries to tell you, okay, this is your issue and this is how we can fix it. But it will use charades and like images and emotions to try to get the message through to you. And it is so easy to just go, whoa, that was a lot. I don't want to hear that anymore, and drink and shut it out. And that's what I was doing for years because I just couldn't handle it. And it was confusing. And I was like, why do I have to go through this? But when you start to understand the messages and go, oh, okay, this is a gift. Like I'm lucky to have this. And then you do something in your waking life. Like that's the action. And like you did, you quit the job or moved on from it. And then I bet that dream finished or it transformed and you didn't have it again. So
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
I'd
There's not
love
a lot
to.
of kid dying dreams I have anymore. Thank God.
Good.
Th th
Yeah.
those are unbearable.
I just would love for you to know that you don't need to drink alcohol forever if that's what you're using as a coping mechanism to sleep. Alcohol is fun to drink with friends and to celebrate, but if you're relying on it to heavily drink every second week, it's not healthy. And you have a gift that you have these nightmares coming to you trying to communicate. So I'd love to help you to understand what they're trying to say, and then you'll have more fun dreams. And with all this reality checking, like you'll be off having adventures every night.
Well, so I'm gonna also turn the flip side on my dreams. As much as they tortured me, which is mostly what I focused on, I've also got multiple movie script ideas. I'm looking at my monitor right here. You can't see it, nor can anyone else. Uh, but I'm looking at, I've got a multitude of movie scripts or ideas that are based upon dreams I had that were actually useful to me in one way, shape, or form. Um, maybe a couple of them are nightmares. I also I'll throw this one at you. This one is my biggest dream. I don't sleep typically for more than 3 hours consecutively. And like I don't move in my sleep. I fall asleep and then I wake up and then I move and then I fall back asleep.
Okay.
Um,
But you go through 2 sleep cycles and then you're waking up, just so you know. It's usually about an hour and a half, and we usually have a dream each time. So you probably had 2 dreams and then woken up. And it could be waking
yes.
up because of the dream, or it could be waking up because you're uncomfortable, or it could be waking up because of alcohol. It does wake you up in the night. It'll help you to pass out, but then it'll wake you up throughout the night.
Yes. Yeah, usually the alcohol I don't remember the dreams, depending how much I drink. But sometimes I do. But anyway, I had a dream, the longest I've ever consecutively slept in my life, to my knowledge, was I slept I think like 8 hours straight. Like I fell asleep in one position. I woke up 8 hours later in the same position. And I had a dream of 6 months of my life in that time. And it was the most vivid, real thing ever. I used to work across the, not that you'd know this from Australia, but I live in St. Petersburg. I used to have to drive to work over a bridge to Tampa, drive back, and traffic was always terrible coming back from work at the end of the day. And I almost always would call my mom on the phone and just talk to her. At least certain days a week. I would talk to her while I was driving home. And I remember one day I'm driving home on the bridge, talking to my mom, boring stuff the whole day. And I see like a mini explosion ahead of me on the bridge. And I'm like, oh my God, a car accident. I'm going to be stuck here forever. And then the bridge is like exploding, collapsing. I see cars flying over me. My car goes up in the air, and I'm like, oh, I'm dead. This is the end. Then fade to white. Then I wake up and I'm on the table and I'm looking up at these human looking things, but they're a little off. And aliens got me off of that. And they told me that I was humans' only immortal being. And that's why they pulled me out of the rubble because I was still alive. And they've been looking, their goal as a species is to find these immortal beings across the universe. And I was flashing to them, apparently. And 6 months of my life I spent on an alien spaceship. They were training me because there was another species that always came to kill the immortals' planet because they did not want them to procreate, even though I already had two kids, which was a thing that was concerning, especially concerning to me and to the aliens because the other ones had not procreated. But they destroyed the rest of the species so they could not have children because they did not want, one species to become. Anyways, you probably get the gist. But it was 6 months of my life. I was training. We went back to Earth and I had to fight to defend the planet. And then at the end of this dream, we won. And there's news cameras. And I go run over there, rip my helmet off, and I'm screaming, I'm a human, I'm alive. And they realize, oh, we can't take him away now. Or we'll be, I outsmarted him. So I was able to go home, go back to my own bed, go to sleep, and then I woke up. And I think I had this dream in May or November, one or the other. And when I woke up, I turned and looked at my phone. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be May or November. Like, I don't know if this was real or not. And I had friends I was going to hang out with that night. It was a weekend I didn't have the kids. But I'm like, no, I'm done. I need to figure this out. Now that so it kind of messed with my head for a few days because it literally felt like I had spent a half a year doing this. That being said, I then shifted it towards where my brother-in-law made a comic book about this character. And potentially there's future creative endeavors revolving this character, which is me with a different name, basically. But but at the time it was just overwhelming to me. And by the way, I also had a bunch of people weighing in on what it meant.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the part you'll love or hate.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well, the smartest one I got was someone who's like, why are you so bothered about being immortal? And I'm like, I'm not, I don't want to be. And they're like, well, but so because all your family and friends will die and you'll still be alive. And I'm like, no, it's because why if there's only one human being who's immortal, it shouldn't be me. She's like, all right, that's a self-esteem issue you've got to deal with. Um, and I'm like, I probably should have been the family thing in hindsight.
You're like, wait, can I go back and change my answer?
Yeah, it should have, but true to a feeling, it wasn't. It was like, I'm not worthy of this throne. That was more of my takeaway from it. Uh, and then most people harped on especially back then, I was doing a lot of, well, I still do a lot of drinking, but I was doing other things that were probably not healthy to do when I didn't have my kids, of course. And they're like, you probably feel immortal because you should die from what you do to yourself. So maybe this was, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably part of that. It's probably part of all of these things. I don't know. But it was a doozy.
Do you want to work on it a little bit now?
Sure.
So when you woke up from that dream, besides feeling tripped out, what emotions did you feel? Like what was vibrating in you when you woke up?
This was a few years ago, but I'm going to do my best.
Were you still on a high from like the newspaper being there and you being the hero, or were you like
My
more?
initial response was relief, actually,
Mhm.
that it was not real. Um, I would say in the dream, I went 6 months of extensive training and I had alien technology to help me. Um, because, by the way, and I think this is something that should happen in real life with humans. They're like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite thing to drink? I'm like, pizza and whiskey. They're like, you got it. This will make you the healthiest person on the world in the world. Just eat that. We're like, we can make this thing taste like pizza, and you can get drunk from this whiskey, but it's actually the perfect nutrient-rich substance for you to shred. Um, so there was a little regret when I looked in the mirror. Um, kind of a separate thing, but also related. But my immediate thing was, oh, thank God I didn't miss 6 months of my
Mm,
kids. It was really just my kids and
mm.
maybe football season. I mean, that's
Okay.
fair.
Usually I'd also ask, could any of this happen in reality, like in your waking life? Could any of the things in the dream happen in the future? But it's a pretty quirky dream.
Yeah, that's an extreme one, I would say. I
Mhm.
mean, hopefully not the bridge collapse. That would be terrible.
So then
Um,
let's go into like analyzing the symbols and what was going on within the dream. So like the part that I don't know, there's the aliens coming, so that could be anything. What do you think of aliens? Like how would you describe them to me? Or to someone who didn't know what they were?
the aliens in the dream,
Mm.
they were highly technologically advanced. They were very jealous of species who had an immortal being because they did not. But they were like the A plus like they were the kings of the universe as far as intelligence.
Almost like AI.
Yes, very much. Very much like Android, like Data from Star Trek, almost.
Mhm.
I assume you nodded, so I assume you get that reference.
Cool. Do you feel like, I don't know, like if it was my dream, I'd be really focused on the fact that I was immortal, like I was special. And I feel like the dream is trying to tell you like you still have so much more of your life to live. Like life can feel like it's going forever sometimes, that when you're drinking and doing things like for weeks at a time, you can be like losing time, or like it might feel like you've lost 6 months of the year if it's half of the year that you're spending drinking. And so when you woke
Mm.
up, you were like, I just didn't want to lose 6 months. I just find that ties in. It's quite clever of your dream. Also, what you were saying, which was like, I'm alive and I'm a human being. Like, you were like really happy to be alive and be living. So I don't know. If it was my dream, I would have just woken up feeling like I'm special. I have all of this life left to live. Like, there's only one of me. I've already got my kids. Like, they didn't want you to procreate. Maybe you were feeling, I don't know if you had internal thoughts, through drinking or through anything, of like not feeling like a good father or anything like that. But you've got them. And so the dream's trying to say, like, make the most of it. Like, you're alive. You've got time to live. Like, your kids are okay. And sometimes we need that reminder because life can feel dull and boring and like hard and things like that. And it's easy to kind of want to drown it out sometimes. But I love how dreams can give us epic reminders of what we do have. And like even just that feeling, like that felt sense of like, I'm alive, like that's huge. Do you feel like that's pretty huge?
Well, yeah, I guess it's one of my favorite parts of the dream, only because I outsmarted these genius species
Yeah.
who they were going to take they were not going to let me back on the planet.
Mhm.
So I outsmarted them. So maybe and by the way, I did not feel any control in this dream.
Yeah.
This was just a movie that was happening and I was viewing through my eyes, basically. Although I realize another tell. Well, you tell me if this is common, but I think it is like the viewpoint changes between you're seeing it out of your eyes and you're seeing like an overhead camera of yourself.
Yeah, different perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, that should tell people that that if your life looks like a movie,
Oh, yeah. So you were viewing it from like the outsider perspective rather than through your own eyes?
uh there was a combination. There were times when I remember again literally how cinematic this dream was, that there was like a training montage of me
Oh,
training,
cool. Yeah.
and I would see a lot of times that was like, I was trying to learn this thing and just, chopping my leg off, and they just, zip it back on and be like, all right, try again. Be like, I don't want to. But it was like a musical montage, like a Rocky movie, except for, well, actually, it was very much like a Rocky movie. I went from a kind of
Interesting.
chubby schlub to a guy who could just eat pizza and get drunk on whiskey. By the way, they
All for
also,
the brain. Isn't that interesting? Wouldn't it be amazing if there was something like that in the real world that you could do? Oh, wait, there is. You can just train and then get to eat pizza and drink whiskey and not be fat if you do the training, like if you do the exercise.
yeah, I like their world better though.
But like you said in the dream, I don't want
Yeah, yeah,
to.
yeah. No. Well, and also that a part of the dream you know, maybe shouldn't mention, but a part of the dream was they were sending women of their species into my room every night because they wanted to see if we could procreate so they could get an immortal. So there was that
Interesting.
too. It was a exercise, pizza, whiskey, woman, exercise. It was an exhausting dream. For 6 months. I mean, that was an exhausting 6 months of my life.
It's probably like also playing a part on, I don't know what you think about when you're falling asleep, but if you're wanting or thinking about things that you might desire, you might have been like, why can't I just eat whatever I want and stay fit and like have heaps of women? And so your dream's like, oh, is that what you want? Here, this is what it feels like. And it's given you what you've been wondering.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was fun for a while, but that dream again, that dream just went on and on. But I'm someone, and again, this is a question for you. I'm someone who has dreams between my snooze button.
Mhm.
Like that's obnoxious to me.
No, it's the best way to dream. And sometimes if people aren't remembering their dreams, then what I would suggest is to set a snooze alarm 1 hour before you have to get up. Because what you're doing is you're waking up a little bit enough that you're conscious, and then you go back to sleep, and your conscious mind can kind of stay a bit more alert. And then that's why you can remember your dream, or people are more likely to have lucid dreams very early in the morning. Because, as well, like when we first go to sleep, the first lot of dreams of the night are usually, I call them like daily processing dreams. So
Mm,
you might just be dreaming about dramas or work or whatever, and you kind of clear it all out. And then the dreams very early in the morning when you're meant to be waking up, like snoozing, these are the ones that have like the best advice and guidance. And they usually can be like quite spiritual and profound, the ones that you have like right before you wake up in the morning. It's not
interesting.
obnoxious. Again, it's that your dreams are trying to communicate with you. And so they're just trying to pull you back to bed, like, come back here. We haven't finished. We've still got more to tell you.
Yeah, I wish they'd punch me in the face a little bit instead of like subtly,
I
you
don't know. I
know.
feel like your dreams are kind of punchy.
Yeah, I know. I realize like I'm obtuse when it comes to acknowledging messages from the subconscious, the universe. I don't know where it comes from. Um and I kind of want to ask you that, but I have to ask you this question, and then we'll double back. And I if I'm the only person who ever said this, then I'm gonna wipe this out of the episode. But but why are so many of our dreams, and I acknowledge this could be an American thing, but why are so many of our dreams based on school and like they're populated, even if they're people you have not thought of or care about for decades, populated by your classmates, and you're at this school, and it's like, why am I an adult at this school?
So a lot of school dreams are to do with trying to teach you a lesson.
Mm,
So, and not all of them, some of them can be like highlighting something that happened back at that time, something very pivotal could have happened in school for you that's, changed the way you are now. But usually the school thing is like it's trying to teach you a lesson, or you're currently going through a phase of learning. And it might be that, you're at a new job and you've got to learn their new techniques or whatever. And the process of learning is reminding you of when you're in school. But it depends on the context of the dream and what's happening. But when you're wondering, like, why is there often like characters in the dream that are people from the past and just like random people from the past? It's usually to do with an aspect of their personality that you remember that you're out of balance with within yourself in the
mm.
nicest way possible. So it could be like, you're just next to some kid that you hadn't thought about. But when you wake up, you go, okay, well, how would I describe that person? Like, oh, he was like pretty funny. And maybe at the time you're like grieving or something. And so it's saying to you, like, embrace some of that humor to help with your grief. Like, you think of what do you think of that person and how would you describe them? Like, do you like them or not like them? And then use them as a mirror on yourself and be like, have I been acting in that way, or do I need to be acting in that way? Like, what should I change to kind of align with what I do or don't like about them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Yeah, because it's a lot of times it's like, why was this person? But that actually relates to another thing,
Mhm.
premonitions from dreams. Um, because a lot of people, and including myself potentially, have encountered people they've met in the future in their dreams first.
Mhm. So, like you were talking earlier about time being linear. So in our dreams, time is not linear.
Right.
And you know how there's some people in the world that are psychic and people will pay to go and see a psychic. Well, we're all psychic. Every single one of us is. We just don't know how to hone in and like listen to the messages and tune in. In our dreams, we're all reaching, going into the same realm that psychics get their information from. So we can all time travel in dreams. So we can go forwards and we can see stuff from the future, or we can also go back to the past and relive some things, reignite with people from the past, things like that. So it's like when we're talking about astral projection and you're going into other realms. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around if they're like a scientific, logical kind of a person. However, you know, we are studying this. It's been proven now. I work with the International Association for the Study of Dreams, and I just got back from their conference, and they've got scientists researching things like telepathic dreaming. And we were doing like activities and stuff at the conference, like, or like someone had a target image, and then everyone was like, okay, trying to tune in when they went to sleep and would dream of what was the target image. And we had like 6 people get it. So, you know, it's amazing, and it's very exciting that science is catching up to all of this like woo-woo spiritual stuff. But this is like all of the things that you're highlighting about dreams. You know, you can travel into the future and meet people and see what's going to come up. You can live all these other lives. You can get messages. Like, I don't know. I just think, why wouldn't people want to remember their dreams? Like, knowing that there's all of these possibilities, and like, yes, there's nightmares, and that is definitely the main answer to that question. Why wouldn't people want to remember the dreams? But from someone who suffered through that, I want you and everyone to know that it's an evolving thing. It's you just because you're having nightmares now, or just because you don't remember your dreams at the moment, doesn't mean that that's what you're going to get in your dream world for the rest of your life. Like, you can transform your dreams after one day. Like, if you put in the effort and you were to get a journal and write to your dreams, like, dear dreams, sorry I haven't given you enough attention lately. Like, now I've heard Mel on this show. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. And like, give it some effort and give them like the attention that they deserve, and they will change their tune and come around and start to be your friend and be helpful. It's like an internal relationship. Like, let's say dreams are the girlfriend that you don't have and you have been ignoring her. And as soon as you start paying attention to her, she's going to come and be nice to you. But if you're like, shut up, you don't mean anything, she's going to be like, want to leave and not like you. So just think about that. Like, have a think internally, reflect onto your own dream world and think, how have I been treating it lately? Have I been giving it the attention it deserves? And when you do start, it's crazy like how quickly your dreams will change and come and meet you. That you got to meet them halfway and they'll come to you.
Now, those are that is great advice to go out on. Melissa, tell the audience, including your ethereal show, where they can find you across the interwebs.
So usually if you just Google Dream Hub, I'll come up. My website's dreamhub.au. I have a podcast if you're interested in that as well. I interview all the experts in the field of dreaming. It's called the Dream Hub podcast. And yeah, my show's called Dream Hub, so check it out.
Yeah. So Dream Hub, folks. It's not hard to remember. Melissa, this has been awesome. I could probably talk to you for hours about either my horrific dreams or my great dreams. I didn't even talk to you about most of the great dreams that have spawned movie ideas that may or may not be
Well,
made.
you'll have to jump online and book in a session, and we'll get some dream therapy happening. And then I'm super excited to hear about when you can go to sleep without needing a drink, because you're so excited for all the adventures you're going to have.
Yeah, yeah, that would be ideal for everyone, I think, to want to go to sleep. Would help. Healthy. Like,
Yeah.
you know. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this episode of Scratch My Noodle. I still don't have an outro for this show, so I'm going to be awkward and say that tune in next week, or I don't know how you're going to digest this show. So just keep watching, and I'll see you soon. But go over to Dream Hub and watch her show because I'm going to. And then come back and watch Scratch My Noodle. Uh, that's all I got to say about that.
Excellent. Good job. Thanks for having
Thanks,
me, Jeff.
Melissa.
Thank you.